Azeroth is not a Titan. So what is she? Magni's Sacrifice Cinematic Analysis. We watched this thing live when we were playing the game. The Magni Cinematic is one of the better ones in the game. I enjoyed it a lot. But it has some lore implications. What was Azeroth doing? What was that whole possession moment of Magni? And what is Azeroth anyways? Let's see what Taliesin has to say about this lore.
This video is sponsored by Squarespace.
Said it a bit like a question.
Hello Internet, Taliesin here. Today we are talking World of Warcraft, the War Within. We are talking the Magni's Sacrifice cinematic, which caps the leveling campaign quests in Second Zone, the Ringing Deeps, and we are jumping straight in with a deep dive cinematic analysis, which honestly should give you some idea of how good the War Within is right now. I don't think Dragonfly...
How good is the War Within right now? Freaking fantastic. I love it. I love it. I love everything about it. The zones, the music, the stories, the quests. I'm enjoying the expansion a lot. Does that mean it's going to be a great expansion? No, we still got a lot of expansioning to do. But so far, it's been great. Not going to lie. My favorite in a while.
Light or Shadowlands had honest-to-goodness leveling cinematics that were good enough, impactful enough, layered enough, packed full of cool references to point out enough that we could do this. Early days, I know, but it really is starting to feel a bit like Legion in here. This cinematic is brilliant. I can't wait to talk about it, but normal disclaimer, this is not a reaction video, okay? If you haven't seen this playing...
Well, it kind of is a reaction video now. Just say it because I'm reacting to the video. So if you're watching this video, it's a reaction
game yet, then this will be a terrible way of watching it because we're going to be stopping and starting and skipping bits and talking all over the top and generally just having a lovely old nerdy time. So if that sounds like the kind of thing you'd be interested in, join us as we talk stories coming full circle, old god whispers, and yet more proof, if any were needed, that Azeroth is not the Titan world soul that we have been led to believe. Okay, go.
It is done!
We are probably going to need a little bit of background on this cinematic before we talk about it properly. So, quick history lesson, I promise. But the three main characters that we quest through in this zone are Magni, Moira, and Dagran. Magni is the previous king of Ironforge. Moira is his daughter, whose gender he was incredibly disappointed by, really wanting a son, and also kind of being old school sexy.
To destroy.
You see here, thank you for the follow. Welcome to our Scourge.
Which meant their early relationship was incredibly strained. More so when Moira's mother was killed and Magni started raising Moira as a warrior to protect herself, something she had absolutely no desire to be. More so when Moira then got captured by the Dark Iron Clan and then rescued by, well, me, or maybe you in Vanilla WoW. And then more so when she actually refused to be rescued because she had fallen in love with Dark Iron Emperor Dagran Thaurissen, who who you'd just killed, and was carrying his child. That child is Dagran, the third character in this cinematic trio. In the build-up to Cataclysm, Magni communed with the Earth in an attempt to get to the bottom of all the elemental disasters that had started cropping up, reading from a stone tablet in a ritualistic ceremony where he said the words...
By the way, I have to say, the Magni story off the bat, it's a really good story, and I feel like now maybe Blizzard would be scared to write a story like this, like a father who doesn't want a daughter, and then daughter gets captured, taken away, maybe got raped, I don't know, but ends up falling in love with her captors, and then, basically has a child with the person who kidnapped her from Magni. The story is actually very interesting, but in today's world, I feel like they'd be afraid to write a story like that. But I'm glad that it was written the way it was written, because now we're kind of seeing some nice fruits from that story in terms of Magni's relationship with this kid who's of his kin, but also of the Dark Irons, and it's kind of like this blasphemous relationship that happened. And, he's starting to love him. He's starting to become an actual grandfather. So the story has led to great things, but overall, a bit controversial to start. Stockholm
For
syndrome, yeah,
behold,
exactly.
We are the earthen of the land, and its soul is ours, and its heartbeat is ours. The earthen, of course, being the stone titan constructs that dwarves evolved from with the curse of flesh. But, you know, fair to say those words have taken on a much more immediate
gift of
relevancy in this expansion, right? This ritual didn't really work, turned Magni into a straight-up diamond, and everyone was like, poor old Magni, he's dead now, he's a diamond. And Moira was like, hi, it's me, Moira, I'm coming to claim my throne for the Dark Irons, and took over Ironforge. And it wasn't until Varian Rin intervened that everyone calmed down and set up the Council of the Three Hammers, where each of the
Can I just say Varian Rin? What a fucking champ, man. I miss Varian. I really do. He was a good king. He was a bit hot-headed early on, but man, he became a great king, great leader, and I feel like Anduin struggled to fill those shoes for quite a while, because he was a G.
Everyone calmed down and set up the Council of the Three Hammers, where each of the three dwarf clans now rule equally. And that was that, up until the build-up of Legion and the Fault Lines cinematic, where
Tundra,
Moira
that's very
is seen
interesting.
visiting Diamond Magni as one would visit a grave. And then he just straight up wakes up and starts walking around as a big old diamond man. Now, at first, Moira is ready to fight him because she thinks he's back to reclaim his throne and disband the council, something she obviously cares passionately about. But no, he says he's back because Azeroth speaks to him now and warned him about the coming Legion invasion. He also mentions
That's
a
right.
vision where he saw a spear of molten fell piercing through the heart of the world, a prediction that in hindsight we maybe should have paid a bit more attention to. And
Yeah.
from then on in, he was the speaker, Azeroth's conduit to the world. But at the beginning of the War Within, we find him despondent because while everyone else is now getting visions from Azeroth in the form of the Radiant Song, she has stopped talking to him, and he's kind of bitter about it. I feel Magni is maybe the kind of guy that would definitely go through your phone when you go to the bathroom if he was your boyfriend. He manages to commune one last time, to be given a vision so strong it puts him in a coma, and when he comes to, he tells everyone to head to Khazalgar, which doesn't go quite to plan, where we do eventually meet.
Could I say, as an entrance, right, as an entryway into a new expansion, that whole campaign was really cool. Like, that was one of the best, you know, we're about to kick off a new expansion events that I've seen in quite a while. Probably since Legion. That was really cool. Maybe WoD had a really cool intro, too, you know, where you meet the warlords and you're getting chased and all that. It was really good. But I said it before, opening campaign, the War Within, man, it ratcheted it up. It started out really cool, and then you get introduced to the Earthen. I don't want to spoil too many things. Maybe somebody hasn't, I don't know who hasn't played through the opening at this point. But just some of the sacrifices that are made, really, really cool stuff that happened throughout the opening campaign.
The Earthen, who call Magni a Thragar. More on that later too. So the Earthen. These particular Earthen are Titan constructs that are tasked
Shut up,
with
Kyle.
protecting
Stop it.
the
Get a hold of
core
yourself. Get a grip,
Damn it,
okay?
man.
What has gotten into you, sir?
Fucking blurps are odd shit.
a huge tunnel path thing that starts in Donegal and supposedly travels right to the heart of the planet before it was damaged in the Nubian attack.
Okay.
They live basically forever because they're made of stone. They just need to pop into the awakening machine every few thousand years to get juiced up and also have their memories wiped so their heads don't explode with memories. But the awakening machine is out of order, which means their numbers are dwindling as one by one the Earthens slip into stasis at the end of their current battery charge. It is the major existential crisis facing the Earthen as we arrive, and throughout the Ringing Deep zone, we discover that High Speaker Eirik has made a deal with Xal'atath in desperation
Right.
to restore the machine and save his people, at the teeny tiny cost of them all becoming Voidy Skardin. During an encounter with one of these Skardin in questing, we see Magni channel the power of Azeroth to save Dagran, though he doesn't exactly know how he did it. The zone story climaxes with the player and the 3 generations of Dwarf fam storming the Stone Vault and
is a
facing
really cool
down
campaign.
Eirik in front of the awakening machine itself, and this is when the cinematic plays.
Oh yeah. This was so good.
It is done! Now, with this power, all Earthens shall awaken.
So the opening shot of this cinematic shows us standing atop the steps of the awakening machine, which is looking disturbingly voidy. The otherworldly
Yeah, these void tentacles remind me a lot of what we saw kind of shoot out of Xal'atath when she did the whole a fight in the middle of Dalaran. So that was interesting. I mean, did Khadgar survive it? I don't know. That's a whole other thing. But that's what it reminded me of when I first saw it. So the Earthen are basically AI, but way more advanced. I guess. I mean, but they are self. What is it? They know of themselves, right? Like that's one thing that makes something like whether it's AI or human or whatever is kind of that self-awareness. They are self-aware. So and they're becoming more and more self-aware. So maybe they're AI that's become more self-aware, self-sustaining AI. I don't know how to say it, but yeah, they are. I guess they could have started out as AI, but they certainly aren't anymore. They seem to have a conscience and everything else.
Purple contrasting to the warmer, homelier orange glow of the dwarfen aesthetic that
self-aware
frames
as well.
it. And this position that we find him in with his arms outstretched can't help but make us think of Magni's position when he was the frozen diamond statue. And indeed later on in this cinematic as well. A contrast that, just in case we didn't come to it naturally, Blizzard put Magni in the foreground of this shot, just to jog our memories. This mirroring of the pose showing us the contrast in their positions. Magni is Azeroth's representative here. Eirik is serving the Void's bidding. And as he tells us that we are too late to stop his amazing plan, we see these writhing, almost gaseous, voidy tentacles emanating from the crystal at the heart of the machine. Obviously, these are reminiscent of loads of imagery.
More on the AI talk about Earthen. One thing that's very interesting about them is how when they recharge, they wipe their memory. And it seems that the memories themselves make them more and more, they give them more free will, maybe. They turn them more into a human-esque dwarves, right? And then they go wipe their memory and they go back to they revert back to their AI form. So it's interesting that their memory has to be wiped every time they charge, and that's probably a Titan design to keep them in order, to keep them doing the things they were supposed to do and not get too crazy with their whole free will and consciousness and all that stuff.
Surrounding
Probably by
Xalatath this
design.
expansion. Most obviously the cool voidy death tentacles
Yeah,
she
that's what I was
uses to
talking
bop
about.
Khadgar in Dalaran, but also the awesome image of the World Soul used in the War Within date announcement cinematic, where we see the exact same kind of smoky fingers reaching around the World Soul, seemingly as helpless to the encroaching void as these sleeping Earthen are in their Han Solo pods. It would also probably be remiss not to mention the way N'Zoth appears in the Rise of Ishara cinematic. Also, a tentacle-like
tentacle,
gas
yeah.
cloud. Oh, and by the way, the Xalatath questline in 8.15, which leads into the Rise of Ashara, features the specific old god whisper, "All that was sleeping shall be awakened," which is definitely a phrase that seems to have found its way into Eirik's vocabulary, isn't it?
With this power, all Earthen shall awaken.
Because the
Interesting.
sleeping Earthen are set to be awakened at last, but in the service of Xalatath and the Void rather than their Titan Masters. Something that you would have to say probably reflects Xalatath's plans for the World Soul itself. And then, when he disappears into this Void portal exactly as we have seen a Ridicron in the past, maybe not exactly like a Ridicron, because whereas that stone badass turned his back on us nonchalantly to walk away, Eirik doesn't quite have the guts to do that, does he?
Right.
Backing into the
Backwards.
portal like meme Homer into the bush, just to be safe, you know? A small, seemingly insignificant difference, but one that I think does give you an impression of Eirik, perhaps betrays a naivety in how much trust he has in Xalatath, who is presumably the other side of the portal behind him. Iridikron has real power and might well be using the Void to his own ends. Eirik is very much a pawn,
He's a pawn,
in this
yeah.
game of Xalatath. In all honesty, he'd probably do better to keep his eyes on her rather than us.
Also, the cinematic quality, by the way, of these cutscenes so far in The War Within, these actually like rendered ones, they're amazing. They're so good. Best we've seen.
We've lost them all.
And as those voidy tentacles reach out to the army of powered down Earthen in the pods to remake them, and if you see this in game, there really are just hundreds and thousands
there's
of
lots
these
of Earthen.
things to remake them in its own image. Magni, already remade in the image of Azeroth perhaps, is truly defeated. But look and listen really carefully as he says, "It's over."
It's over.
Did you catch that? At the moment when all seems lost, there's a low bassy sound, and the light on his face brightens just slightly, just like his whole body did when he saved Dagran earlier. Azeroth is still there, and although Dagran doesn't see this happen, he knows what his grandfather is capable of.
Granda, you can stop this. I've seen you wield Azeroth's gift. It's you. You're the only one who can save them.
Touching moment.
And I love this because Magni clearly has no idea what he's talking about until Azeroth takes over.
That whole moment where Azeroth takes over, it looks like almost like a possession. Like she's talked to him before, but we've never seen this happen. You see what happens with his eyes, the way he looks up and everything. It's a boom. Like the light just shines and he looks possessed. She's not only talking through him, I think she's like taking over him. See that? Like the big flash of light. It's a crazy moment.
Magni. It is time.
I thought it the first time I saw it.
His head lurching upwards and his eyes shining with power, just like we saw with Tyrande when she became a vassal for Elune in the Shadowlands. So Azeroth is using Magni's body here to communicate with him. We see the churning world soul of the Radiant Echo visions whooshing, and we hear her voice say, "It is time." It's funny, you know, because with Eirik repeating that old god line earlier, and with this line from Azeroth and what happens next, it makes me wonder if the whole real purpose of Azeroth claiming Magni as her bestest diamond speaker guy in the first place was actually for this moment, specific moment, this specific purpose. Dagran doesn't hear Azeroth's voice, but he can.
It's interesting if you think about it that way. That would mean that Azeroth is so conscious and aware of what's going on that she's known this moment was going to come, created Magni in this diamond form just to be able to save all these Earthen in this moment. But the Earthen are thought of as like Titan creations, so she's saving Titan creations from becoming void creations, basically, or void things. So is she on the Titan's side? Probably not. You know, I would say no, most definitely not, actually. But it's interesting to think that she's kind of playing the game of chess against the void, too. Because clearly these are two, I guess you could say, pawns, even though Magni, you know, is probably a better pawn than the one that just walked back through the void portal. But they are playing chess, and clearly Azeroth had her checkmate right here.
Can see from his grandfather's face that his mind has been made up, and pride washes over him. Even though Magni and Moira have traditionally had a strained relationship, everything we've seen of Dagran has shown us that he adores his grandfather, even though they've barely spent any time together, although Magni did teach Dagger's stone form, which saved his life when Dalaran blew up, so Dagran isn't surprised that Magni is prepared to make a sacrifice here. He's a hero to this young prince. I mean, he was literally a mythical hero until he came back to Diamondy life in Legion, and you suspect that Magni's willingness to potentially die here is as much to do with not wanting to let his grandson down, with protecting his semi-estranged family, as it is helping the Earthen or saving Azeroth.
Right. This is great.
Azeroth, let your blessing pass to them.
And as he kneels in front of the machine and calls on Azeroth, I mean, I don't want to be funny, okay, but it looks like light energy rather than the ordered arcane energy that you might expect a Titan Azeroth to provide, doesn't it? We'll definitely be talking about that at some point. But Magni implores Azeroth to pass.
And it looks very much like that. It's straight up yellow light energy rather than the typical like bluish, you know, that mix of blue and yellow that we usually see with Azeroth. This is straight light. Yeah, it's a good point he makes.
It's her blessing. The only thing that's keeping him alive, don't forget. Because diamond
he thinks
hearts
he's gonna
are rubbish
die
at
here.
beating by themselves. Diamond lungs have real difficulty breathing without help. To the sleeping Earthen. And it does.
There's the blue. I mean, you do see a blue radiance after the yellow, so Yeah, I never actually noticed that. So we got yellow here, and then bam, we got some blue. Purplish blue. Yeah, and even here you see it rushing through, right? There's the blue after the yellow. So it rushes through as a yellow light, and then a blue. And you're probably wondering, oh, Sam, why you go focus on that? Because all these colors usually mean things in WoW. The color of the magic that's usually is an indication of its source.
Azeroth's power radiates out of Magni like a priest's halo spell. Exactly like a priest's halo spell, actually. And actually, right as the power pulses at the end, we do get a flash of blue arcane-like power. Azerite is golden and blue, after all. Azeroth's light literally extinguishes the...
I did not pre-watch this shit, okay? I know I'm already going to get accused. I did not, and I never have, okay? It's just, I know, it's obvious that you're going to point out the colors.
Encroaching shadow burns it away and leaves the earthen in their Han Solo pods glowing themselves with that same light. We get a moment of stillness as Dagran and Moira look around to see that, yes, it's worked. The void has been vanquished before we get our shot of Magni.
You saved him.
You did it, Granda.
Cold and lifeless, his arms just outstretched, just as they were
same,
for years in the bowels of Ironforge when he was first turned into Diamond. But whereas from Cataclysm he was frozen in a scream of terror and pain, here the position represents a giving motion, an offering. You could even point out that original Diamond Magni and Eirik were on their feet, whereas this Magni is on his knees. The difference between trying to command Azeroth and the elements, as opposed to now humbly asking for her help for the greater good.
Yeah, it's really
You
good.
saved them.
This was a good cutscene, man.
And as Dagran collapses into his grandfather's petrified arms...
By the way, can I just say, was that the first, like, tear ever in a cinematic in WoW? I noticed it right when it happened the first time. I was like, whoa, is she crying? I don't know if we've ever seen somebody cry in a cinematic in WoW. But, like, it's not this annoying dragonflighty, like, oh, the WoW's going all soft moment. Like, we just witnessed a badass sacrifice. So it was emotion following an epic moment. That's what's cool about it. Whereas a lot of times in Dragonflight, we just had emotion following emotion. There were no epic moments. So this was perfectly fine with me. But when I saw the tear for the first time, I was like, whoa, is that a new anime? We'd never seen something like that before.
And as Dagran collapses into his grandfather's petrified arms before being consoled by Moira, who,
sad,
after
but never
all this time, all the clashes that she's had with her father, sheds a tear for Magni, for her son, for herself and what she's lost and missed out on. This would have been a brilliant ending for the cinematic. If it had ended here, I'd be telling you all about how good it was and how much I loved it and how WoW is totally back. But it doesn't end here. Oh, hey, I didn't see you there. I'll give you 2 minutes, which is just enough time to say thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring today's video. If you're anything like me, you've probably been...
Oh yeah, I'm sure animating a tear was really hard. That took them time for sure.
Power leveling ults for 23 hours a day doesn't leave much time for...
When Magni turned to normal dwarf, I was wondering if he had underpants.
For speed. Thankfully, Squarespace has loads of features baked right.
The beard
in,
would
making
cover
editing
everything
your
anyways, it's so
website
long.
Super simple, but also lightning quick. I am. Well,
Yeah, it was a nice
First
moment
off, you know this little
with the tear, and it was something that I noticed right away.
For a quick change, Site Styles is your best friend. It's definitely mine. One of my favorite things that I can change in an instant is the
Squarespace, of course.
font packs. One click, you get an entire vibe change with every single bit of text across your site, down to the letter
Probably
switched
pushy.
up automatically. Want to mix serifs and sans serifs? Yeah, I do. Boom, it's already done. Moving on. Don't have time to make anything new for your site? I feel you. Thankfully, Squarespace Embed Blog is easy to set up and take any type of content already out there
look
and
at that.
format it
Wow.
automatically, instantaneously, with nothing more than a URL. Put a Twitch link in there. You can even watch a stream
Twitch
directly
link,
on your own site. Why would you ever go anywhere else? No, seriously, why would you ever go anywhere else? Other than to power level those alts. And finally, sometimes you just have to acknowledge that you got a bit too much on your plate. Thankfully, Squarespace makes deleting your entire site a breeze. While it's not just a button, it's still pretty simple. I just go here, and then I just have to do this first, and you know, it's not actually as easy as I thought, which is actually a very, very good thing. Thanks, Squarespace, seriously. What are you still waiting for?
Yeah, exactly. That's why I would imagine a tear is hard to animate, Cadence. You're right, is all the curvatures of the face. To make it look natural, it would have to flow down correctly. Yeah.
Where you can enjoy 10% off of your first purchase of a Squarespace website or domain, or just use the code TaliesInEvertell. That's squarespace.com/TaliesInEvertell.
There it is. Damn.
She let me go.
All that light bursting through him. This is a really cool animation. And I did see, and I will admit, there was a boss that died with the same animation that I saw on somebody else's stream. And yeah, he had an interesting take on this. I'm sure Tellius is going to say the same thing. Yep, there you go, Tundra. Was it the same music?
She let me go.
Because the cold Magni statue begins to crack like the gargoyle dogs in Ghostbusters, becoming engulfed in the same light that saved the Earthen. Azeroth hasn't left Magni yet, she just needed him to reach the others, but she hasn't abandoned him. I can't lie, but the moment when Dwarf Magni appears again for the first time in 14 years, it got me good. Although I do have some very serious and genuine questions about his clothes. Like, why did his clothes disappear? And if they had to disappear, why did only his underwear not disappear? I mean, I know the answer is a dramatic one.
The underwear is just part of the typical NPC model, and wow, it's always there, never goes away. So you can't unequip it. That's why. But in all honesty, someone mentioned it early on in this video. Did Azeroth just give him the curse of flesh? I've called it before the gift of flesh, guys. It's what it is. Free will, the power of free will. Now, when Magni was in stone form, he had free will to do what he wanted. But at the same time, look at how Azeroth was able to control him, like take over, possess almost, or use him, channel through him, do things through him, right? But once he was back to fleshy form, that's it. He's back to full free will. That's right. That's why I call it the gift of flesh. Did Azeroth just do that? It was you, yeah. I don't know. Either she removed her stony form, and by doing that, just reverted him to flesh form, or she just literally gave him the curse of flesh. Same thing. Big moment.
Magni be essentially naked shows a much clearer contrast between the diamond body he was just seconds ago and this fleshy, alive person that he is now. And his pants survived because it might have been a bit distracting and ruined the moment slightly to have a full frontal at this point of the cinematic. So I'm cool. I'm happy with it. And the line, "She let me go," is wonderful. And it really does make me think that, yes, this is the moment that Azeroth ultimately had in mind for Magni, her true purpose for him. Can't wait to see why that might be later on. But as he pulls his family in close with his arms that can hold them now, in contrast to the shot a few seconds ago where Dagran hung from his lifeless form, and feel them now, the warmth of other people's touch for the first time in 14 years, the first time ever with his grandson. This would have been a brilliant ending to the cinematic. If it had ended here, I'd still be making this video, I'd still be telling you how great this was and how it gave me all the feels, but this isn't the end.
You woke me. Who are you? I'm Magni.
Because the Awakening Machine isn't just saved from the void, it's been fixed by Azeroth's light, and the Earthen are waking up. Now, I've said before that I'm not like 1,000,000% on board with the Earthen style of line delivery. Their stilted robotic voices make sense, for sure, from a lore point of view, but there are sometimes I think they rob dramatic moments of weight by sounding kind of affected and inhuman.
control. The station is in ruins.
Yeah, he is right about that, but I have noticed something. I don't know if you guys have. The Earthen seem to be, talking with more and more emotion. There seems to be more nuance to their conversations with us as this expansion has gone on so far. Like early on, they were all very much like directive and protocol, like they said those words a lot. Whereas now, if you interact with a lot of the Earthen that we've quested with, I feel like they're saying those things less. Maybe I'm just tripping. But I do feel like they are becoming more awake. I don't know, I guess you could say.
But when it works, it's genuinely very cool and really adds something, and I think it definitely does that here. I love this moment where the Earthen asks who he is, and this shot where he's actually surprised by the question, or rather, he's surprised that he's not initially totally sure of the answer. He looks at his living, meaty, impressively hairy hand, and for the first time, he's not a prince, he's not a king, he's not the speaker, he's really just Magni. Free to be Magni for the first time, perhaps. He looks up with a little chuckle in his eyes at this incredibly liberating realization, and if this had been the ending of the cinematic, it would have been incredible, but it's not over yet.
Magni. But who am I? Whoever you want to be.
Yeah, I got goosebumps, man. Again. It's really cool. Like, some people will say it's a corny line and all this, and oh, wow, it's soft or something, but I didn't think it was at all. I thought it was a really cool sacrificial moment leading to some really cool line deliveries. It was so good. Yeah, I love that line. Yeah, me too. I thought it was really, really cool and well done. Like, that line, whoever you want to be, that could be delivered in so many ways that would have felt corny and overdone and forced, but all the moments leading up to that line, everything that we know Magni has been through over the years. I mean, it has been years since he became a stony boy. And now he's finally fleshy again, and he's talking to somebody for the first time as fleshy Magni. Yeah, this moment, this line delivery had some weight to it. It was pretty cool.
This is what the best WoW cinematics do so well, because in a couple of minutes, we've been taken through a roller coaster ride of action and emotion, and by the end of it, a very clear shift in the status quo has occurred. The Awakening Machine is back up and running. The Earthen are waking up, but of course, they have no memory of their past selves, what they were. They are empowered by Azeroth now, not the Titans, and above ground on the Isle of Dawn, there are about to be level 80 campaign quests where the Earthen explicitly abandon their Titan edicts to protect the Coreway and all become unbound.
Wait a minute, so I wonder, lore-wise, does that mean that everybody that makes an Earthen from here on out comes from this chamber of Earthen that were awakened by Azeroth? Is that how it works now? Because that makes sense. Because you're not just making an Earthen who's already been awake this entire time. When you make an Earthen, which I did during the beta, I didn't have this background knowledge when I did that, but you're an Earthen in the chamber who awakens. So that's all happening post this event, and that is why the Earthen are now going to be playable. Oh, shit. It all makes sense. Yeah, we are the unbound Earthen. Oh, shit. Wow. That's really cool. I didn't make that connection until right now, that these are the Earthen that we can play. The ones that were awakened in this chamber. Very cool.
Protect Azeroth. Magni's newfound freedom to finally be the person that he is, to be whoever he wants, is meant to be demonstrative of how all of the Earthen now have that same choice as well. It really is a new dawn for them. This will definitely tie into how playable Earthen are a thing. And when Magni, the man who until moments ago was a being of rock, a being of duty, steps forward and tells the newly awakened Earthen, the being of rock, the being of duty, that she can be whoever she wants to be. He's not just the voice saying that, he's the example in front of her. And of course that line,
in the
whoever
flesh.
You want to be,
he is the example in the flesh, right? Yeah.
Isn't just to her, it's not just to all the Earthen in the Han Solo pads, it's to you, the player, as well, of course, because thanks to the events happening here, your Earthen that you can play can be whoever you want them to be. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, hang on, did you just say they are empowered by Azeroth now, not the Titans? And yes, I did, because this cinematic is just another entry in a long list of evidence that points to Azeroth not being a Titan world soul, as we've all been led to believe. It's something we've all been talking about for years now, but for me, it became unmistakable at the end of the Amirdrasil raid, when the dragon aspects got empowered by Azeroth to regain their powers, and Nosdormu flat out says,
This is not the Titan's magic.
This is of our world.
and you know, if anyone knows what being empowered by Titan magic
look at that
feels
dragonfly
like,
lore.
it's the aspects. So I'm going to take their word for it.
Yeah, so maybe Azeroth's on her way to just making her own, you know, her own army, her own even plane of things. She's got the aspects now. She's got the earthen. Obviously, she has the player characters. We've been talking to her for quite a while now. So Azeroth, maybe she's just building up her own army to fight at the middle level between the void and the light, or the void and the Titans. Interesting. She's
Azeroth's
gathering her own
magic
army.
is
Yeah.
not Titan magic. It's something else. So it follows that Azeroth is not a Titan. She is something else. I actually think that Magni knows this too. Baelgrim calls Magni Thragar when they meet because he looks like a diamond Titan construct of legend. The oracles in Sholazar Basin also call him Thragar when he visits them in the Exploring Northrend book. But Magni pushes back. He says it isn't Titan magic that made him because his power comes from Azeroth, who is not a Titan. And so these Earthen, reborn through the power of Azeroth's light, they are something new too. It's not Titan magic that powers them anymore. It's Azeroth. You can see this visually with the literal chunks of Azerite protruding from this dwarf's rocky form. A customization option for the Earthen playable race that we don't see on the existing Earthen in
Oh,
Dawn,
damn, I didn't
as
think
far
about
as
that.
I'm
He's
aware.
right.
Still not convinced? Okay, here is Maria Hamilton responding to a question where we straight up ask her about this.
There seemed to be a very strong implication that it wasn't the power of a Titan that was empowering them, and perhaps Azeroth isn't a Titan or not. Is there a clarification that you can give us there, or is that purposely vague?
I cannot tell you that.
So if Azeroth is not a Titan...
He poked where it hurt. You know, it's kind of like when you're an attorney and you're interviewing somebody and they refuse to answer a question. You're like, yep, I probably poked where it hurt. Yeah, he got it. He got it. She is not a Titan, and that is why she could not. Yeah, her poker face was pretty good.
And
You
that
can see her
can mean
eyebrows
one
twitching.
thing. A whole video onto what that means later. But for now, it might be worth considering that in this last year, Azeroth has empowered first the dragon aspects, and now a whole army of earthen dwarves with her own magic. She's building up quite a formidable force here, and it's also
Not only is she building a force, those two, the aspects and the earthen, belonged to the Titans before. They were Titan creations, and now they're of hers. So she's not only strengthening herself, she's weakening the Titans.
noting that in both cases, the blessing has freed the people that it has touched. The aspects not being Titan conduits allowed their reunification and future. For the Earthen, it's nothing less than a...
She also didn't just gain the dragon aspect, she technically gained the Drakthir, right? Because they were a creation of a Titan creation. So now the Drakthir are also on her side.
Liberation from masters that were more than happy to wipe them out rather than let them develop their own sense of will. And I wonder if this theme of Azeroth's blessing and power being one of freedom from an oppressive cosmos is intended and whether it will be important. Okay, we got a tiny bit off track there, but yes, this cinematic is brilliant. It's another reason why this expansion has real Legion vibes right now, and it has been a joy sitting here and talking about it to you today. But what do you think of Magni's sacrifice? Is my praise justified? Is this the end of Magni's arc now, or just the beginning? Personally, I see this as a way for Blizzard to basically remove him from the core group of Planeteers who they seem to have pegged as the World Soul Saga Scions, but maybe you think differently. What cool references or moments did I miss? Because there's always some. Let us know in the comments below. And thanks for joining us today. If you like this video, don't thank us, thank our patrons who give their actual real life money to make all of our work happen. And guys, seriously, thank you, because without you, there would be a whole lot less Taliesin and Evertel. If you didn't like it, downvote the shit out of it. Remember, my name is Makes. No, my name is Taliesin from me and Evertel. Until next time, cheerio.
Man, that was a great video. Nice breakdown of the entire cinematic, and I didn't realize the weight of that cinematic for a little while here, and it really does have a lot of weight in terms of Azeroth's final plan, and he keeps mentioning, why does this feel like Legion? This gives him Legion vibes. I feel like it's because the War Within is really playing off the core lore, the core story, the main timeline of World of Warcraft. Whereas we've had a lot of expansions, Shadowlands, and even Dragonflight, and maybe BFA. BFA played off a little bit because it got brought in some old god stuff and everything, but a lot of expansions that have really played off of like offshoot lore, right? Like lore that kind of comes off the main timeline, comes, you know, does its own thing, and then we come back. But since Legion, and maybe the end of BFA, just the end, we really haven't played through like the hardcore, deep stories that have been in World of Warcraft since the very beginning, and now we are. And I feel like that's why it feels so good.